The walls here do not feel like a boundary but like a presence. They stand parallel, holding the space between them with a quiet certainty. This is not a path to somewhere else. It is the place itself. The light does not flood in. It arrives carefully, a precise geometric shape that lays itself down upon the stone and the plaster. You can see the texture of the brick beneath the white paint, the gentle irregularities that speak of time and weather. The lavender is a soft, muted line, a suggestion of fragrance and form rather than a spectacle. Its color is subdued in the shadow, waiting for the sun to climb a little higher. The gate at the end is not an exit but a conclusion to the view, a solid wooden fact that assures you this is a complete, contained world. The air in this channel is utterly still. No leaf trembles. The shadow does not move while you watch it. It is a space of such compression that silence becomes a physical thing, a substance held between the walls. You feel the closeness of the house on the other side of the brick, the domestic life just beyond the surface, and this knowledge makes the garden's quietude more profound. It is a pause built from architecture and light, a narrow slice of outdoor room where nothing is required to happen. The window frames the garden like a painting that has learned to breathe. This is a view designed to be seen from inside, a living composition that changes only with the sun's passage. The maple tree is the anchor, its branches arranged in a careful, asymmetrical balance against the geometry of the patio stones. Each stone is slightly uneven, edged with moss, holding the weight of the pot and the tree without complaint. The light that comes through the leaves is not bright, but softened, broken into 100 small coins of illumination that rest upon the flagstones. The hostas and ferns in the border are not individual plants but a single entity of layered green, a deep, cool mass that seems to absorb sound. There is a density to the greenery that suggests depth, even in this confined square. The low wall at the back provides a horizontal line, a rest for the eye, holding the entire scene within its embrace. From this vantage point, you are both separated from the garden and intimately connected to it. The glass is a silent barrier, but the view is immediate. The stillness of the interior meets the stillness of the exterior. There is no movement, only the slow, imperceptible shift of the dappled light as the sun continues its arc. It is a space that asks for nothing more than to be seen, to be a quiet presence beyond the glass. A corner is a place of meeting, of two planes coming together to create shelter. Here, the vertical line of the house meets the vertical line of the fence, and in the space they create, a small gathering of pots has found its home. The light treats the two surfaces differently. It embraces the house wall, flooding it with a warm, even glow that makes the render seem soft, almost tactile. The fence, however, is held in a cool, striped shadow, the gaps between its slats suggesting a world beyond while firmly denying a view. The terracotta pots absorb the light, their rounded forms glowing with a rusty orange warmth. The plants within are chosen for their stillness and their texture. The artemisia is a cloud of fine, silvery filaments. The sedum spills over the pot's edge like still water. This is not a display, but an arrangement that happened over time, a quiet accumulation in a protected spot. The corner itself feels like a room, defined by its two walls. The air here is particularly motionless, protected from any breeze. You can almost feel the heat radiating from the sun-washed house wall, a gentle warmth that adds to the sense of enclosure. It is a testament to how a neglected space, a mere junction between structures, can become a complete and silent vignette, holding light and form with simple dignity. The path is a river of pale gravel, flowing in a straight, narrow course beside the solid flank of the house. This is a space you walk through, but slowly, because the journey is the entirety of the experience. The house wall rises high on one side, a tapestry of aged brick, each one slightly different, laid in a pattern that speaks of permanence. The planting on the border is deliberately vertical, a row of simple, strong shapes, spear-like fronds of ferns, the dense columns of small shrubs that echo the verticality of the wall without competing with it. They are a green curtain, softening the edge but not obscuring it. The light falls at a low angle from the side, carving out the roughness of the brick and casting long, thin shadows from the plants across the gravel. The crunch of the gravel underfoot is implied in the visual texture, the way each small stone catches the light individually. The view pulls you forward, towards the deeper green shade at the far end where the garden turns, but there is no urgency to reach it. The narrowness of the space creates a natural pace, a forced slowness. It is a connecting corridor, yes, but one that has been granted its own identity, its own quality of light and shadow and quiet, linear progression. The tree is not just in the garden, it is the garden. Its trunk, clad in papery white bark, rises cleanly from the ring of soil, branching out near the top to form a delicate, airy canopy that seems to hold up the very sky above this enclosed square. The fence around it is dark, a deep charcoal gray that recedes, making the white of the birch glow as if from within. This contrast is the heart of the scene, the living, luminous column against the flat, somber surround. The pavers on the ground are neutral, a calm gray field that anchors the space, their regularity interrupted only by the soft, green traces of moss that have written themselves into the cracks. The bench is an invitation, but an empty one. It sits facing the tree, a silent witness to its presence. The light is long and golden, painting one side of the trunk in warm tones and leaving the other in cool blue shadow. The enclosure of the fence creates a profound stillness. There is no distant view, only the upward view, the gentle movement of the small leaves so high up they seem almost static. This is a room with a living centerpiece, a space defined by reverence for a single, quiet form. The air feels cool and clean, held within the wooden walls, scented only by earth and damp stone. The threshold between inside and outside is a single step, but the world changes completely. Here, the garden is a linear ribbon, a green shelf suspended above the ground. The planter is a dense, tangled abundance of leaf and stem and occasional flower, a living barrier that softens the hard line of the railing beyond. You do not look at the view past the balcony. The view is the balcony itself, this cultivated edge. The herbs rosemary, thyme, perhaps have a structural woody quality, their forms intertwining to create a miniature thicket. The white flowers are like tiny points of light scattered through the green. The light at this hour has lost its direction, becoming a soft, enveloping glow that eliminates harsh shadows, flattening the scene into a gentle tapestry. The wall of the neighboring building is merely a tone, a pale, blurry background that serves to emphasize the sharpness and detail of the plants in the foreground. This is a space of absolute compression, where the entire natural endeavor is contained within a wooden box and a depth of soil no greater than your forearm. The stillness is the stillness of elevation, removed from the ground, where the air is quiet and the only sounds are distant and muted. It is a private, aerial room, a pause built on a ledge. The pergola is no longer a structure. It has been consumed by the rose, becoming a floating ceiling of soft color and intricate shadow. The blooms are countless, each one a loose, pale pink constellation against the darker green of the leaves. They filter the light, transforming the space beneath into a room of dappled, shifting shade. The table and chairs are placed centrally, but they seem like artifacts, objects waiting in a green cathedral. Their metal is cool and simple, their purpose suspended. The brick circle they sit upon is an island in a sea of deep, uniform ivy that covers every other inch of ground, a calm, dark carpet that absorbs light and sound. The house wall behind the pergola is barely visible, just a sense of solidity and shelter. The perspective, looking from the garden's end back towards the house, emphasizes the enclosure, making the floral ceiling feel like a welcoming terminus. There is a profound sense of pause here, of an activity sitting, talking, reading that has been gently but completely deferred to the atmosphere itself. The air is likely sweet with scent, but visually, the silence is paramount. It is a space that feels both abundantly alive and deeply at rest, a testament to how vertical growth can define and shelter a small patch of ground, making it feel like a world apart. In this cool, shaded enclosure, sound has a shape, and that shape is a circle spreading on still water. The basin is ancient, its edges softened by a lush, velvet coat of moss that seems to drink the muted light. The water within is dark, a mirror to the overcast sky, broken only by the constant minute perturbation at its center where a single drop falls at a slow, eternal rhythm. The gravel around it has been disciplined into flowing lines, concentric circles and curves that mimic the movement of the water they can never contain. This is a garden of microcosm, where the entire universe is contained in the relationship between stone, water, and pattern. The low wall and dense hedge are just a blur in the periphery, a dark frame that isolates this one, quiet act. The camera's close perspective eliminates context, forcing you to contemplate only the texture of the moss, the precise ripple, the perfect curve of the basin's rim. There is no growth here in the traditional sense, only persistence and maintenance. The stillness is not absence, but a deep, focused presence. The gentle asterisk plink of the water drop is almost visible in the concentric rings it creates, a silent sound made manifest. It is a space for the eyes to rest, for the mind to settle on a single, simple, endless event. This is a forgotten space, a leftover slice between two functional structures, but the light has remembered it. The sheds are utilitarian, their paint weathered to soft, anonymous hues, their purpose stored inside, doors closed. The alley between them is not a path but an accident, a sliver of neglected earth. And in this sliver the grasses have taken hold, rising tall and straight, their forms elegant and wild against the geometric wooden walls. The sunset light hits them horizontally, setting every slender stem and plumed seed head ablaze with a backlit golden fire. They seem to vibrate with the low light, though the air is perfectly still. The camera's compressed perspective makes the alley seem deeper than it is, the grasses forming a dense, luminous thicket that you could almost reach out and touch from either side. The sheds, receding into shadowy blue, act as towering walls for this miniature canyon. There is no destination here, only the beautiful, transient fact of the light catching these humble plants in a narrow crevice. It is a celebration of the incidental, a proof that beauty does not require cultivation, only an aperture and the right angle of the sun. The silence is the silence of a secret, a moment observed in a place meant only for storage. The trellis does not hide the world. It filters it, breaks it into pieces. Inside this wooden cage, a different reality holds. The acer tree is a burst of intense color, a slow explosion of red leaves that seems almost artificial in its brilliance against the sober, dark-stained wood. It is a living sculpture placed with intention on a stage of dark slate. The slate chips are a deep, almost black sea, absorbing light and reflecting little, making the tree appear to float. The sun, low in the sky, penetrates the trellis squares, projecting a perfect geometric grid onto the ground and the trunk. This grid of light is constantly moving, though imperceptibly, a silent clockwork marking the day's end. The wide-angle lens emphasizes the feeling of being inside a box, the walls leaning in slightly, focusing all attention inward. The sky is merely a pattern of bright holes in a dark wall. This is a garden as a theatrical set, a composed moment of high drama built from contrast, dark and light, static grid and organic form, somber enclosure and vivid, transient color. The silence here is theatrical too, a held breath. It is a space designed for a single, powerful visual experience, a pause within a pause. This is a garden of the underside, a space discovered by going down, not out. The perspective is from the bottom, looking up the short flight of steps that reconnect to the world above. The steps are ancient, worn stone, their edges blurred by the green spill of ferns that cascade from the planters on either side. The ivy on the walls is not a covering but a skin, a dense, textured layer that seems to pulse with quiet life. The hint of autumn red at the leaf tips is like a slow blush. The light does not shine directly here. It falls down the stairwell, a diffused, gentle illumination that deepens the greens and picks out the moisture on the stone. The house above looms, a frame for the rectangle of sky at the top of the steps, but the sky feels distant, secondary. The primary experience is the enveloping embrace of the brick and the ivy, the cool, damp air, the absolute quiet of a sunken place. It feels secret, hidden, a room excavated from the earth beside the home's foundation. There is a deep sense of shelter and separation here, of being within the ground itself. The stillness is the stillness of a well, deep and cool and resonant. It is a retreat in the most literal sense, a few square meters that feel profoundly away. The day is writing its final note in light and shadow. The bench, empty and solid, is a recipient of shadow, its wood turned a cool blue-gray. It is a place of rest that currently holds only the absence of a sitter. The shrub next to it is a mound of darkness, a soft, amorphous shape that absorbs the fading light. But behind them, the fence is on fire. The low, raking sun strikes it directly, transforming the weathered pale wood into a panel of radiant, warm gold. This bright plane seems to float, independent of the dark objects in front of it, creating a dramatic, almost theatrical backdrop for the silent bench. The line between light and shadow is razor-sharp, a definitive border drawn by the setting sun. This corner is a testament to the daily cycle, a stage where the last act is a simple, powerful play of contrast. There is a deep melancholy in the beauty, a sense of closure and calm. The bench waits, not for anyone in particular, but for the night to come and erase the distinction between the gold and the blue. The stillness is absolute, the kind that comes at the end of things, when activity is done and only observation remains. It is a quiet, powerful farewell enacted daily in a small, enclosed space. The water is not a feature of the garden. It is the garden's eye, a dark, liquid pupil staring upward. The high walls create a severe architectural frame, cutting out all but the pure geometry of sky. This sky is duplicated perfectly on the surface of the pond, a floating rectangle of blue and white that rests upon blackness. The reflection is so complete it inverts the world. The hard edges of the walls, the single, crisp form of the ornamental grass, all are held in perfect, silent replication on the water's still plane. The real grass and the low planting around the edge are merely a dark fringe, a subtle textural transition from stone to water. The symmetry of the composition is profound, calming, and slightly disorienting. Where does the garden end and its reflection begin? The stillness here is of a different order. It is the stillness of a mirror, of a held breath, of a space so controlled and introverted that it becomes meditative. The sound of the city, of life beyond the walls, is irrelevant. This is a chamber for contemplation, built from shadow, reflection, and severe, beautiful lines. The air is cool and smells of wet stone. It is a space that does not offer escape but depth, a visual plunge into a quiet, inverted world. This is a garden of rhythm and restraint, a linear beat played against the hardscape of domestic life. The granite blocks are rough, their edges unchiseled, a raw mineral border between the cultivated and the utilitarian. The boxwood balls are perfect spheres, repeated at precise intervals, each one a globe of dense, dark green. They are static, permanent, unchanging from season to season. The tall, thin light standards stand like silent sentinels between them, their purpose latent, waiting for the night to trigger their function. In this twilight hour, they are merely elegant black lines against the blue-gray wash of the sky. The house wall on one side is a flat plane of muted color, the low hedge on the other a soft, dark mass. The perspective, looking down the line, creates a feeling of infinite, calm repetition, a visual mantra. There is no flourish here, no bloom. The beauty is in the order, the quiet confidence of the repeating forms, the clean separation from the driveway. It is a space that asserts calm through geometry and repetition, a quiet, green punctuation mark along the edge of a home. The stillness is the stillness of order maintained, of a simple idea executed with clarity and left to exist in the gathering dusk. The arch is a doorway, but not one you are meant to walk through. It is a frame for a view, a deliberate limitation that makes the garden beyond seem like a promised land, soft and unfocused. The clematis, its flowering done, is a tangled net of sleeping stems and dried seed heads, a delicate tracery against the dark wood. From the sanctuary of the porch you look out. The garden is an impression awash of green, a suggestion of form, a mystery held at a distance. The sharp focus is here, on the worn boards of the deck, on the grain of the arch's timber, on the empty terracotta pot that holds nothing but shadow and a few fallen leaves. This pot is a full stop, an object that signifies potential, but a potential peacefully dormant. The evening light is vanishing, leaving no shadows, only a uniform, dimming luminescence that flattens the world. This is a scene of transition, of moving from the contained human space of the porch to the implied natural space of the garden, but pausing forever on the threshold. It is about the act of looking out, not being out. The stillness is the stillness of anticipation indefinitely postponed, a quiet satisfaction found not in exploration, but in the framed view, the empty pot, the gentle boundary of the arch. The day ends here, on the verge.